Many know about the most iconic non-stop flights, like the almost 19-hour Singapore to New York route with Singapore Airlines or the 17-hour Perth to London journey with Qantas. These flights mostly came with the emergence of wide-body aircraft and opened more of the world to each other. But there are also many non-stop flights that once were a big deal and have since ceased operations. Let's look at some of these routes and why they stopped. As Etihad expanded its footprint in the United States in the mid-2000s, it launched a non-stop flight from Abu Dhabi to Los Angeles, but COVID-19 became the downfall of this route, one of the longest in the world. The 16.5-hour, 8,340-mile or 13,421-kilometer route was launched in 2014 and would typically be operated by the Airbus A340-500, the Boeing 777-200LR, and 777-300ER. Pandemic woes caused Etihad to cut its longest flight to North America, and it hasn't been flown regularly since March 2020. Since then, a few one-off flights have been operated, but Etihad has made no plans to restore the route. In August 2008, Delta Airlines announced a new daily non-stop flight between Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport to Mumbai, India. The almost 18-hour flight entered service in November that year, but just over 6 months later it pulled the non-stop route. Delta had only just acquired 2 Boeing 777-200LR aircraft at the time, which would make the long trip to India's west coast. The Atlanta-based airline said the decision to pull the service was due to low passenger demand and the quote-unquote illegally subsidized Middle East carriers that plagued the carrier's competition and made operations almost impossible against far lower prices. While other routes listed are definite cuts to the airline services, Qatar Airways' Auckland to Doha route is still up in the air but hasn't flown since late April 2020. The route was first launched in February 2017 when a Boeing 777 aircraft travelled 16 hours and 20 minutes from Doha to Auckland. The flight saw the Boeing 777 pass over 10 time zones and 5 countries and travelled 9,031.6 miles or 14,535 kilometres, 208.1 miles longer than Emirates' flight from Dubai to Auckland, which was previously thought to be the longest non-stop flight in March 2016. According to Qatar, the trip back from Auckland to Doha was even longer due to high-altitude winds, taking 17 hours and 30 minutes. The route launch was set to be significant, serving customers daily, with most of the demand expected to come from Europe. But in March 2020, like most other airlines, Qatar announced it would stop flying the route. The airline is yet to relaunch the route, and there is little known about whether it'll ever fly again. Ultra-long-haul services are definitely interesting to examine, but not always pleasant to experience when seated in economy class. But have you ever experienced any of the routes we just mentioned yourself? Let us know by leaving a comment. In addition to our daily YouTube videos, Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles every week. If you're looking for the latest aviation news and insights, visit simpleflying.com.